What happens when the most powerful man in the world disappears into exile, not because he's weak, but because he's too dangerous? Tiberius, the second emperor of Rome, ruled not from the marble halls of the Senate, but from a cliffside palace on the island of Capri. There he created a hidden kingdom of shadows, where loyalty was tested with blood, and pleasure often ended in screams. This is not a story of war. It's a story of paranoia, perversion, and power without limits. He was born into power, the stepson of Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, a brilliant general, a ruthless tactician. But Tiberius never wanted glory. Raised in a palace where betrayal was as common as wine, Tiberius learned early. In Rome, trust kills faster than poison. When Augustus died, Tiberius became emperor. But instead of embracing the throne, he recoiled from it, like a man who feared the very thing he had won. In the early years, he ruled with cold efficiency, but then something shifted. He began withdrawing first emotionally, then physically. By his 50s, Tiberius vanished from Rome completely. He sailed south and built himself a fortress on the island of Capri, Villa Hobus, the palace of Jupiter. Built high above the sea, it had walls too high to climb, cliffs too steep to escape, and guards who obeyed only his whispers. From there, Tiberius ruled an empire of 60 million souls, with letters. What he left behind in Rome was a shell, a senate too scared to speak, a praetorian guard run by Sejanus, his ambitious right-hand man. But on Capri, Tiberius turned inward and downward. He filled his palace with astrologers, prostitutes, torturers, and oracles. He surrounded himself with pleasure rooms, secret tunnels, and gardens designed not for beauty, but for control. Ancient accounts tell of orgies that blurred the line between fantasy and horror. Children, taken as little fishes, were said to swim between his legs as he bathed. Some were taught to please him, in ways no child ever should. He drank deep from the cup of power, and it poisoned him from within. But no tyrant lives without fear. Tiberius trusted no one. He ordered spies into every home, every tavern. One whisper against him meant death. He executed senators without trial, watched executions during dinner. He even had a man tortured, then forced his family to dine beside the corpse. He was becoming what Rome would later call him, Capra Monstrum, the monster of Capri. Back in Rome, his lieutenant Sejanus grew bold. He plotted to seize power for himself, and for a time, it looked like he would succeed. But Tiberius saw through him. He ordered Sejanus arrested, stripped naked, paraded through the streets, and strangled like a dog. Then came the purges. Anyone linked to Sejanus was killed. Their families, their servants, even their friends. The Senate didn't speak. They applauded, because in Tiberius's Rome, silence was the only survival. For 11 years, Tiberius ruled Rome without setting foot in it. He lived like a god on a mountain, watching an empire bleed beneath him, and then he died. Not with glory, not in battle, but alone, paranoid, surrounded by statues of gods, and no one left to trust. Ending thought-provoking and haunting Tiberius began as a soldier. He ended as a shadow. He ran from the city not because he was weak, but because absolute power had hollowed him out. His story isn't just about Rome, it's about what happens when a man with everything loses himself. And if you think this was ancient history, look around. Some rulers don't live in palaces anymore. They live in isolation, paranoia, and fear, ruling not with presence.